everyone. This is the InStyle Knitting Studio. Today we are going to knit this summer dress for a girl. I have already knitted one. Now, I will knit another one, only in beige and a little bit bigger. In this video, we will be knitting only the dress. The bolero will be knitted in the next masterclass. If you like this model, let's get started. So, for the work we will need yarn. I will be using beige yarn. This is Yarnart Violet Lurex. There are 270 meters in 50 grams. My edging will be pink, and also the bows. I will also be using a pink thread. So, the total yarn consumption for the dress is about 170 grams. That's about 155 to 160 grams of beige yarn, and 10 to 15 grams of pink yarn. Next, we will need a hook number 2, scissors, a measuring tape, a wide-eyed needle, markers, and a zipper, if you are making the dress with a zipper or buttons. If you choose to use buttons, spandex elastic. I think you know what that is. The elastic is thin and matches the color of the dress. The color I have doesn't match very well, but I couldn't find another. Next, a calculator and a notebook with a pen for calculations. Friends, before we start our knitting, we need to take some measurements. Using the measuring tape, we measure either a dress that fits the child well, or take measurements of the child herself. I am knitting the dress for a girl aged 4 to 5 years, height 98 to 104, approximately. So, we measure the chest circumference. I think you know how to measure the chest circumference. I got 54 centimeters for the chest circumference. Next, we measure the dress from the armpit, or on the child, from the armpit down. This is the length of the dress you want. So we have measured the total length of the dress. I have measured 40 centimeters. Next, we determine where our waist will be. I have these measurements. It turns out that from the armpit to the elastic band is 21 to 22 centimeters. The elastic will be about 3 centimeters. The skirt is 15 centimeters. It might be more or less. We will see when we start knitting. So far, these are my approximate measurements. That is, we measure the circumference of the chest, measure the length of the entire dress, measure the length to the waist, and from the waist, the length of the skirt itself. And we determine how wide our elastic will be. That's it. In general, we will knit the dress from the armpits down. From the armpits to the elastic band, we will use 2 types of fabric. First, we will knit with double crochet stitches. Then we will knit with Solomon's knots. How much to measure here and how much there, you will decide for yourself. This strip will be a little smaller than this one. So the double crochet stitches, this fabric on top, will be a bit wider than the Solomon's knots. The elastic is about 3 centimeters. The skirt will be made of double crochet stitches and Solomon's knots. For now, that's it. Of course, while knitting, things may change. I will discuss all the details. And along the way we can, of course, try on our fabric on the child. Now look. That means we knit a sample with double crochet stitches, since we will initially knit down from here. We need to calculate how many stitches to cast on to knit with double crochet stitches. After we knit this fabric, we will move on to Solomon's knots. But I haven't knitted a sample of Solomon's knots. I will explain how we will proceed later. In general, we need to knit a sample with double crochet stitches first. I knitted a swatch earlier. I have already knitted a pink dress like this. So now I just took the measurements, but if it's your first time knitting, you definitely need to knit a swatch. I had a swatch with 20 stitches. That is 6 centimeters with double crochets. Next, we write down below, X stitches is 1 centimeter. In other words, we calculate how many stitches we will have in 1 centimeter of the fabric. X equals by proportion 20 multiplied by 1 centimeter divided by 6. It turns out to be 3.33 stitches. This means in 1 centimeter, we have 3.33 stitches, and to cast on a fabric with a circumference of 54 centimeters, we measured the circumference. We multiply 54 centimeters by the number we obtained, meaning the number of stitches in 1 centimeter. So we multiply, and I got 180 stitches. When rounded, this means. That's it. I will cast on 180 stitches and start knitting from the underarms down with double crochets. So, with the number 2 hook, I will cast on 180 chain stitches. Friends, all these points, like casting on chain stitches or how to knit an even fabric, all these lessons are on my channel. Therefore, I will leave all the links below the video. If someone has difficulty knitting anything in this lesson, check below the video. There should be all the lessons that will help you. So, we will now cast on 180 stitches and see you soon. Well, I have cast on 180 stitches, and now I will chain 1 more stitch. Next, we will knit with double crochets in turning rows, as we will be inserting a zipper at the back. So, I will include the chain stitches in the total number of stitches, which is why I knit 1 extra chain stitch. Next, I begin to knit the first double crochet in the 3rd stitch from the hook. I yarn over for the double crochet, like this. But these chain stitches, thus, 2 chain stitches, they will count as my first double crochet, meaning I have effectively knit the 2nd double crochet. That's it, I have knitted 2 double crochets. Next, we knit with double crochets. Like this, we continue to the end of the row. We should have 180 double crochets, including these turning chains, the air stitches, including. We finish the first row, and we have this little spiral. Next, when we move to the next row, I crochet 2 turning chains. I turn the work, and then I crochet double crochets, so we get 2. The turning chains are our first double crochet. Now we crochet the 2nd double crochet. We place it not in the 1st stitch, but in the next one. It goes over the 2nd double crochet of the previous row, not here, but here, in the 2nd double crochet of the previous row. We've crocheted 2 double crochets, and then, in every stitch, we crochet a double crochet. I demonstrated this moment so that we get an even fabric. That is, at the beginning of each row, we will crochet 2 turning chains, and these 2 turning chains will count as the first double crochet. And further, correspondingly, we should have 179 double crochets, plus these turning chains. 180 double crochets should be, meaning I include the turning chains in the total number of stitches. I don't know, you can crochet differently, you can choose not to include the turning chains in our total stitches. Well, friends, there's a lesson linked above. You can go through and see how to crochet an even piece when working in rows. I won't explain in detail here, so I include the turning chains in the total number of stitches. Alright friends, we crochet it like this in turning rows with double crochets, and I'll tell you later what height I got for the piece. So friends, I finished. The height of my piece turned out to be 11.5 centimeters. I crocheted 21 rows of double crochets. Next we will move on to Solomon's knots. So we finished the row of double crochets. To move to the next row, we crochet 1 turning chain and turn the work. This turning chain will be our first single crochet. Next we will crochet 2, friends, how to crochet Solomon's knots. For those who are unaware, I ask you, please follow the link. There, I am trying to show in detail how to crochet. Right now, I won't be able to because there's no time. In general, we tied 2 Solomon knots. And friends, by the way, when switching to another pattern, it would probably be wise to crochet a sample with the new pattern and make calculations to see how many stitches need to be decreased or added to transition to the next pattern. But I didn't crochet a sample. Rather, I had a sample crocheted, but these Solomon stitches really stretch, so it's hard to determine how many stitches are needed for the Solomon stitches to fit with the double crochet stitches. So I decided not to overthink it. I just, look how. And I suggest you do the same. It turns out even better that way. So we transitioned to the Solomon knots. We made 2 knots and just applied them to our double crochet stitches. We applied them, looked at how many stitches we needed to skip. In my case, it turned out that I skipped 4 stitches. In the 5th, I made a single crochet here. Look, in the first one. Next, I skip 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th stitch of the previous row, I crochet a single crochet. We crocheted. This density seemed the most normal and optimal to me because the fabric will stretch a little. To make sure the Solomon knots don't pull the fabric, I work them a bit loosely. So, it turned out that I skipped 4 stitches. In the 5th, I crochet a single crochet. Then again, we crochet 2 Solomon knots. Finished. Next, we skip 1, 2, 3, 4 again. In the 5th, we crochet a single crochet. Well, we attach our arches. So we crochet this way until the end of the row. Here, 1, 2, 3, 4. In the 5th stitch, we make a single crochet. So my repeat is this single crochet plus the 4 stitches that I skip. So my repeat equals 5, 4 plus 1. This first column is not counted. That is, there are 4 columns that I skipped, and my column without a yarn over. Then again, 4 skipped columns, plus a column without a yarn over. In total, my repeat consists of 5 stitches. Yours may be different. You might skip, for instance, 3 columns or skip 5 to work in the 6th. It depends on how you make these Solomon knots. If you pull your stitches very tightly, for example, you will naturally skip more yarn over columns. In general, that's how I do it. I skip 4 columns and knit into the 5th. Accordingly, my repeat is 5 stitches, 5 columns. So I continue to the end of the row. We will meet at the end of the row. Look, here is my end of row. I have 35 of these arches, and this is 36. Now, I need to knit the 36th arch and secure it. But here, I need to skip 4 columns and knit a column without a yarn over in the 5th. Therefore, I will skip as many as I have here. I have only 4 columns here. That is left including the last one. So, I skip 3 and in the 4th, the last one, I knit a column without a yarn over. That is, I attach my arch, like this. That's it. I have 36 arches in one row. It's not a big deal if, for example, there was one column lacking here, or you might have one extra, that is, a bit more than needed. Here, you can just adjust it as you like. None of that will be noticeable here. Next, to move to the next row, what do? As with regular knitting of Solomon knots, at the beginning of the next row, we knit 3 Solomon knots. We have knitted 3 Solomon knots. Here's our first arch. This is our 4th. That is, the 4th such chain stitch. So we attach our new flower, here in the center of the arch. Right here, we crocheted a single crochet stitch. Here is our first flower. It's not a big deal that it comes out here. Later it will stretch and create an even fabric. This means at the beginning of each row, we will crochet 3 Solomon knots. We will finish the row with a single crochet stitch. Look, we have joined, resulting in this flower made up of 4 of these chain stitches, so we crochet using Solomon knots. As I advised you, please watch the lesson. After this, we will crochet the entire row with 2 Solomon knots. Only at the beginning of each row will we crochet 3. Now we have 2 and here we skip 2, that is, these 2 elongated stitches. And into the center of our arch here, we will crochet a single crochet stitch. Here, we attached our new flower. Next, again, 2 Solomon knots and a single crochet stitch in the center. We have crocheted 2 stitches and attach it in the center of the previous row's arch. So that there are 4 elongated stitches in each flower, we will attach them in a checkerboard pattern. In the next row, we will attach here. We proceed to the end of the row. Well, here we have finished the second row. I crocheted 2 Solomon knots, and now I need to attach them with a single crochet stitch to get my 36th arch. That is, the 36th flower like this, so look. 2 crocheted stitches, and here, 1, 2, in total, 4. So, we attach with a single crochet stitch here. This is our 36th flower. This is how it turns out. And we move on to the next row. We crochet 3 Solomon knots. So, here in the center we will crochet a single crochet stitch. Next, we will do 2 Solomon's knots and then secure them in the center of the flower. That is, we will be crocheting this pattern, starting each row with 3 Solomon stitches. And we will finish the row with a single crochet stitch. This means we will secure our last 36th flower. That's it, friends. We will continue crocheting in this way until we reach the desired length of the fabric. I will crochet it, and later we will meet again. I will tell you how many rows I crocheted and what length I achieved in centimeters. So, friends, look. I crocheted 10 to 10.5 centimeters in this pattern, and I have 10 rows of Solomon stitches and knots, 10 rows. Next, we will be crocheting the belt. Let's move on to crocheting the belt. Right now at this moment, we will join the fabric in a round and will continue crocheting in a round. Look, this is our back part. Here, we will have the zipper and end. Here we will now connect everything into a circle and continue crocheting in a round, so we begin crocheting our belt. We will crochet in a round as we do. Look, we have finished our last row, and we crocheted a single crochet stitch, a little knot. We finished our row. Now we need to join the crochet into a circle. We take the other end of the fabric. Here, we also have our diamond. We go to the corner here, that is, on this side, we leave one extended stitch, and on top, we leave 2 extended stitches. And we will crochet a slip stitch into this corner knot. We join the crochet into a circle. Next, we make 2 chain stitches for lifting. This will be our first double crochet stitch. For the next row, we will crochet regular double crochet stitches. Just watch how I will crochet. So, our first stitch is done. Next, we crochet 4 double crochet stitches into the arch right here. Don't pull the stitches too tightly. The next column we will work into is a column without a yarn over from the previous one. Rows go here. But I will not work here, I will go a bit lower over here. I think that will be better. Next, again into the next flower over here. We will work 4 double crochets. The 5th double crochet will go into this junction, just a little lower over here. Next, again, 4 double crochets into the arch. And we will continue like this until the end of the row. Why do I insert lower here? To pull these little holes up a bit. Why do we work 4 double crochets in the arch? Because initially we skipped 4 double crochets between these junctions. To have the same number of double crochets as we originally had. You can also work these 4 double crochets not into this hole itself, but over here, 2, for example. Over here, and the next 2 over here. Here, in the end, we have worked 4 into the same arch, but now there are these little threads here and here. As you prefer. I, for instance, will work like this so it's easier for me. That is, under the whole arch, under all the threads. I will insert the hook as I initially showed. Look, here's my flower. I will work 4 double crochets here. Next, I will work a double crochet instead of the junction, just a bit lower. This is how it goes, friends. We will work to the end of the row. Well, friends, I finished at the end of the row. This is how it turns out. Right now it doesn't look very nice, but it will be fine later. I have worked 4 double crochets into the arch. Here's my spot. Junctions, that's it. As a result, I have 180 double crochets. The same number of double crochets as I originally had over here. If you had a different number of columns accordingly, you should end up with the amount that was originally gathered. And now we will connect our row. I am connecting. So, here I have 2 lift stitches. I insert the hook into the first worked column. not into these lift stitches but into the first worked column, well, it turns out this is actually my second column with a yarn over. I consider these lift stitches to be the first. I insert the hook into the second column with a yarn over and make a slip stitch. By the way, friends, there should be an even number of yarn over columns now. Even, because later we will be knitting in relief ribbing. And for that, we need an even number of columns. An even number of stitches. I have 180 stitches. And now we will knit the next row. How? 2 lifting air stitches. This is our first column with a yarn over. Next we will knit in relief ribbing. That is, a ribbing consisting of raised and recessed yarn over columns. They are also called front or back reliefs. How is this ribbing worked? I have already shown it in my video tutorial linked here. Please go, friends. Don't be upset that I'm directing you to my lessons, because if I show everything now, our masterclass could drag on indefinitely. To save time, I ask you to watch how to knit this ribbing. For those who are not yet familiar with the hook, if you know how to knit it, meaning we'll alternate raised and recessed yarn over columns, then please proceed. Don't go anywhere. I will knit 6 rows. That is, we don't count this row we just knitted. From this moment, we are knitting 6 rows of ribbing with relief columns. Look, here are 2 lifting air stitches. The first second column, we knit a back relief. It is very difficult to show on a thin thread. That's why I say it's better to watch the lesson. This is why we need an even number of stitches, so that our ribbing aligns at the end. So, in this way, we alternate our columns. I will reach there. End of the row and show how to finish this row and start the next. Well, I've reached the end of my row. And here I have knitted, it turns out, the last front post stitch, which is raised here at the top. Convex, as a result, I have 180 double crochets. And now let's join the round. Here are my 2 chains at the start of the row. Yes, these 2 chains. This was my first stitch. It is a back post stitch, which means it goes behind. The next stitch goes in front. It is convex. So, here I have a convex stitch. Then, the chains are my back post stitch. And here is my last stitch. It is convex. Closer to here, meaning it goes in front. So, the convex stitches are in the front, and the chains are in the back, correct? So, the stitches alternate. We join the round joint. Next, I make 2 chains for lifting. This is again my first stitch. It is a back post. It will be further away, well, a back post stitch, and then we knit with regular front post ribbing, look. Since I have chains, this is a back post stitch, so. The next will be convex. Here is a convex stitch from the previous row, and again I catch it. I also knit it as a convex stitch. So, a convex stitch over a convex stitch, a front over a front, a back over a back. Next is a back post. I knit a back post again so that our ribbing gives such stripes. Such vertical stripes. Friends, everything is shown in the lesson. I think it would be easy to connect this little elastic band now. Convex over convex, concave over concave, and my lift stitches resulted in a concave post. That's it. Friends, this way we are knitting 6 rows. The 7th row is this row, which we knitted with regular double crochets. That's it, we finish up, and then we'll meet you. Friends, look at what I have achieved. We have already knitted everything up to the waist. Here is our waistband. Mine turned out to be about 3 centimeters wide. I knitted 6 rows, plus this first row of double crochets. You decide for yourselves, friends. If you like a wider waistband, then you definitely need to knit more rows. If narrower, then fewer rows. The same applies to these 2 pieces. If you want this part to be narrower, and suppose this part is wider, please, it's up to your discretion. This is how mine has turned out so far. Now I'll show you the back. Look here. This part was knitted in turning rows. I connected here and knitted the waistband in the round. Here, we will later insert a clasp. And by the way, for the waistband, I have the same number of stitches in the elastic as was originally cast on, 180. But, as we can see, the elastic somewhat tightens like this. In order for the waistband to hold well, I will sew an elastic band with spandex from the inside after I see the dress. I will show later. To ensure that my waistband is tightened like this as I want, so that it is elastic and well fixed by Natalia, look here. After we have knitted our elastic, we start knitting the skirt. We will knit the skirt initially with double crochets. Therefore, we make 2 chain stitches for the transition to the next row. And the next row will be knitted with double crochets. How so? We will make increases. I will knit like this. Look, this is my first double crochet. These 2 chain stitches will be counted as 1. After that, I do a yarn over and crochet the second double crochet into the same stitch. So, I have made an increase. The next double crochet will be one from the previous row, then again, an increase. That is one from the previous row. We will crochet 2 double crochets. In other words, we made an increase. The next double crochets without an increase. This means we make an increase every other stitch from the previous row. Look, 1 double crochet. Into the next stitch, we crochet 2 double crochets. Then again 1 double crochet. Then again 2 double crochets. So, we will continue to the end of the row. As a result, we will have a large increase in this row. Done. At the end, I ended up with 1 double crochet without an increase. Since there was an increase at the beginning, all correct, so we will make a slip stitch into the stitching of our second double crochet. The first one crocheted, not the chain stitch, but into the second double crochet. I will insert my hook right here, at the top. Here, in principle, it does not matter. Connect it as you like. We connect. We make 2 chain stitches for rising. Next, friends, I will knit straight without any increases to the desired length of the skirt. If you need more width, that is more flare, then you can make some increases every few rows.